And we welcome you to On the Hash with Hatfield, our weekly high school football podcast that we stream with you on the Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel and also online on Facebook, on virginiapreps.com. It's all over social media. So we're going worldwide, nationwide, worldwide, global. On the Hash with Hatfield here at the Plex. We thank you for tuning in, and a lot to do on this episode. We're going to hear from Leon Fatman Clark of the Maury Commodores after their big win over Highland Springs in just a little bit. We'll go through my Hats hits that we did not do on our 757 Saturday Sports Talk program. Ordinarily, Coach Ed Young and I go through that as we rehash things. But on this edition of On the Hash with Hatfield, there won't be, Coach Young to do that and tell you, yeah, that's a good Hats hit, that's a bad Hats hit. It'll be me since we didn't do it last Saturday. It slipped the mind. We'll also be chatting with John Byron. He's the head football coach in his first year at the helm of the Tabb Tigers. He's our second special guest. And if Wayne Lance of Atlantic Shores was any indication last week, it just means that Coach Byron has a great chance to move to 3-0 as he's taking on Doug Purr and the York Falcons. Big time showdown. It's the 60th or 50th anniversary. I think it's the do my math here, 62nd game. They played a couple of early years, a couple times in the season. So this is a long-standing rivalry between Tabb and York. So with no Ed Young to jinx, we'll see if it does help Coach Byron go to 3-0. The other guy, Doug Purr of York, is hoping, as we always nicknamed him, Blue Smoke, a.k.a. from our radio days with his infamous Facebook video. He's hoping otherwise to get that first one of the year for York. Two really well-coached teams, and we'll talk about what's on deck with Tabb and doing a military appreciation night as well coming up in just a little bit with John Byron of the Tigers. And you'll hear from Tony Newbold, first-year head football coach of the Manor Mustangs in Portsmouth. He previously was the interim head basketball coach. Now he's the head football coach for varsity. He's been an assistant for many years, got their first win on Monday Night Football, while the Jets were edging the Bills with no Aaron Rodgers, as my fantasy football team is already off to a rocket awful start. In overtime on a punt return for a score while Josh Allen was giving it away. The Manor Mustangs, before that all took place and transpired up there in New York on 9/11, it was Manor getting that win in a game that was resumed from suspension due to weather and lightning, beating Lakeland out of the Southeastern District in Suffolk over there in Portsmouth on Monday night. So you'll hear from him, and we'll get you set for what's on deck. Plus our Chicho's Pizza Player of the Week, the first one of the season. We're going to go through that in just a little bit as well. So, in fact, if you've got a Player of the Week nominee or any stats of standout performers you'd like to share for the show, you can always email us those at hatfieldsports@gmail.com. We always want to highlight those standout players, the unsung heroes, the stars, offense, defense, each and every week here on the program. But as we mentioned, big one last Friday night at Palanton Field in Norfolk. It was the Maury Commodores taking down the Highland Springs Springers, who had won 11 consecutive times dating back to 2015 against teams from the 757 area code. They're still going to be heard from in Class 6 out of Richmond, but Maury looking like a prohibited favorite out of Class 5 to potentially go play for the state championship at UVA's Scott Stadium in Charlottesville come December. And they've won a number of region championships under Doree McCain, won the state championship back last December, or check that, in December of 2019. Over Stonebridge. Last December, they fell to Highland Springs in the state final over at Old Dominion the year before on a heartbreaker to Stonebridge on the last play of the game. Jacob Thomas to Zeke Wimbush, touchdown pass. That was a devastating blow to Maury, so they're trying to get redemption, and they got a big one on deck with the Dinwiddie Generals. We caught up with Doree McCain, the coach. It's on our 757 Saturday Sports Talk program. If you missed that, go check that out on the YouTube channel and look back at last week's episode. We also had Lamort Smith, the first Colonial, on the show. Did buy or sell NFL week 1 picks with Bruce Pearl. We'll do more picks coming up on Saturday with that episode of the show. So that'll be coming your way with Coach Young and me. But nonetheless, let's hear from the guy known as Fatman, Leon Clark of the Maury Commodores, the running back who had a nice performance on the ground for Maury. They ran for 228 yards as a team, and Clark helped steer the way for them with 85 yards on 12 attempts. Here's what he told us after the win over the Springers last Friday night. All right, I'm here with Maury running back Leon Fatman Clark as he rushes for, I think it was 85 yards now on 12 attempts. Commodores win it, most importantly, 23-14 over Highland Springs. Leon, to be in this type of atmosphere, this game against a great team, your team, certainly a great team, two of the best in the state, whether it's Class 6, Class 5. What did it feel like out there tonight?
I really felt amazing. Like, it's a different feeling for me. I never, felt this, had this before. So, it was really different.
Tell me about you as a running back, your style, because just watching it, feel like you accelerate, you hit the hole quickly, and then you've got some moves when you get to the second level. What's kind of your mindset and your description of your own game? How do you break it down?
I used to be like a power back. I'm trying to work my way into like being like more versatile with it.
Okay.
And my favorite running backs are like Saquon Barkley and Marshawn Lynch. So I try to combine them two together.
Not a bad combo. Yeah, you get beast mode and you get Barkley. You have the mixture there, and integrating new school for this year. You played at Churchland last season, now at Maury, playing with this offense and Coach McCain. What's been some of the biggest things you've had to learn and get adjusted to?
Mainly like all the plays and everything. Like learning the actual game of football. They really taught me a lot here. I just want to give a big shout out to Coach McCain for that because he really taught me a lot ever since I've been here. So.
Was this a gritty win for you all? How would you kind of break it down, how it felt out there? Because I think some thought this was going to be a high-scoring game back and forth, but it really got a tough between the tackles type of game.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I just knew like my team's going to give it their all and like eventually we'll come out on top.
Sure. Let's talk recruiting for a second. You got a number of offers. What schools are in the picture for you and that you're feeling pretty good about, like you're liking, they're liking you, if you will?
I'm feeling good about like all of them right now.
Okay.
I don't really have no top ones right now.
Okay. Have you visited some schools?
Not this year yet, but I'm going on some after the season.
Tell us who you're going to go probably check out on your list.
UNC, Syracuse, Virginia Tech. I don't got an offer from Liberty yet, but I'm going to check them out. Okay. And a few other schools.
Yeah. Well, and if you make it to the state championship, you'll get a chance to check out UVA. That's where it is this year. I know it was at Old Dominion last year. But a couple more for you. What are you looking for in a college? What are the things that matter to you? Any type of system, coaching, environment? What are the things that matter to you?
I'm just looking for a college that, like, I'll fit in. They'll make me feel like a family, and they can just continue to teach me more and more.
Okay. Two more for you. What are you improving on your game? What are you working on in your craft to sharpen up? And you got a good running back group with yourself and Melvin Lowe, Damari Palmer. I imagine you all push each other.
Yeah, we definitely all push each other. I'm just working on, just getting stronger and faster, my vision, and then my blocking and everything.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, I know you guys have the goal of winning every game, and at the end you'll win the state championship. But to play these tough games like Wise, tonight with Highland Springs, Dinwiddie next week, what's it do for you all? Does it make you better as football players and as a team?
It definitely brings us closer together. It makes us mentally more stronger and physically stronger, and just brings us more closer to each other.
He's the Fatman from Maury High School, Leon Clark. Watch out for him, class of 2025. Thank you so much. Congrats on the win.
Thank you.
Good job, buddy. So there you heard it, Leon Fatman Clark. He's got a bunch of schools recruiting him. He actually started his high school career at Norfolk Christian. Coach Darnell Moore, who used to coach at Bayside High School, Woodrow Wilson, once at Norfolk State. We actually called a game with Norfolk Christian in Atlantic Shores at the Plex. And that was back, I want to say he was a freshman then. Went to Churchland last year, ran for 1,000 yards, and now part of a loaded Maury backfield that also includes Melvin Lowe, former Green Run running back Damari Palmer, and Altori Newkirk, the new quarterback for them. Really slung the football well. He's certainly one that's going to open up some eyes in the coming weeks as Maury tries to continue its dominance as far as throwing the football and putting up big numbers. And Newkirk in his game against Highland Springs, 11 of 17 for $108. Did most of that damage in the first half where they ran the ball. Special teams was big for them with Andrew McClung kicking a field goal, also pinning a punt inside the 10 of Highland Springs. So our question of the week is, you see it on the screen there. You can tweet us, or I guess you could say on X, send us a note. Comment on the show. Who has the best nickname among football players in Virginia? There's a lot of great ones. I mean, I go back to Early Bird from the Hampton Crabbers and Big Money, Naquan Harris from Lake Tedder. There's always some catchy nicknames. Everybody's got some great nicknames out there. I want to know who has the best one. Fatman right now is the leader in the clubhouse from Maury. Didn't say he's the best football player. He's certainly among the best running backs in the area, but right now he's got the top nickname. I want to know who has the best nickname going right now. It can be in the 757 to 804 to 703. Tell me who's got the best nickname going right now in high school football. All right, it is now time, before we go to break and have John Byron join the show, to go through our hats hits from last week. I do these on Twitter, or X as they're now called, with some takeaways. I also go on Instagram with some quick reaction a lot of Friday nights after the games. I've been doing this for a few years now. It's caught on some steam. A lot of people love it. A lot of people don't care for it. Doesn't matter. I'm still doing it. And I give you 5 takeaways around the state that just tickles my fancy, just, grabs me around 10, 11 o'clock at night on a Friday night as, you're heading home from a game. You're grabbing those snacks before you head to bed, those type of things, putting all the data into the computer, getting ready for all the different shows and what have you. All right, here's number 1 from last week. Here we go as we see it on the screen there. The Maury Commodores executed in all 3 phases to halt the 17-game winning streak of Virginia Power. Highland Springs also ended their 11-game win streak over 757 teams, as we just highlighted a little while ago. A championship-level response in the second half to a trio of fourth down conversions by the Springers. And it looked like Highland Springs was going to come back, but as I mentioned, the special teams plays were exquisite for Maury, getting a takeaway that was very instrumental as well. And there you have it. Maury got it done, and I think that's the type of championship response they're looking for. That's why Doreen McCain scheduled the games with Wise out of Maryland, Highland Springs, Dinwiddie. This is why you play those tough teams, to get yourself battle-tested for what's on deck in the playoffs, and that's what you do in playoffs. That's what happens. All right, what's number 2 as we take down the question of the week? That's done. We'll take that down here in just a second. Once I figure out how to take it down, there it is. It's taken down. It's hidden. It's gone. It's vanished. Poof, into thin air. Number 2 from last week's Hats Hits. Certainly, folks will look to Phoebus, Dinwiddie, Verina, and Salem, that's Salem out west, as Class 4 favorites, but don't leave out the King George Foxes. Yeah, those Foxes of King George, now running a 31-game regular season winning streak. They beat Riverbend for the first time. They're led by the dynamic wide receiver duo of Mackay White, who's a Maryland commit, and Chance Wiggins, who's a Hokie commit. A lot of Maryland and Virginia Tech fans all across the 757 and throughout the Commonwealth of VA. And those two receivers, if you've not watched them play before, they are really a treat worth checking out. And King George has that long regular season winning streak. Your longest win streaks in terms of the state right now would be Phoebus at 22, Graham at 18, out in Southwest there in Bluefield, and Freedom out of Woodbridge at 17. Their game with DeMatha was paused. Not sure they're going to make it up. We shall see if and when it does get made up. Let's go to number 3 on the Hats Hits. New freshman sensation has burst onto the scene in Virginia high school football, and it's someone from the Beach District, Tajay Curtis of Kempsville. 173 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns on 26 carries to put the Chiefs in the win column. First time in 2023 they were coming off losses to Green Run and to Kellum. Had a double-digit lead against Kellum, but could not get it done. Tajay Curtis, though, is a name to remember. There are some good freshman players all across the beach in the 7-5-7. In fact, Green Run's got a pretty good 9th grade running back as well in Terrence Ely Jr. He's like a bowling ball out there. So good to see the 9th graders getting their feet wet, making things happen, getting it done on a regular basis across the 7-5-7 and beyond. All right, let's go to number 4 as we're almost done with Hats Hits. Take a break here. Number 4, winners of 2 state titles since 2017. Hopewell will be a factor in Class 3 in the title race. Ricky Irby's Blue Devils, plenty of speed, and it showed with 28 of the last 34 points against Lake Taylor behind the quarterback running back duo of Makari Tatum and Kashawn Henderson. Tough one on deck, by the way, for Lake Taylor. Coming off that loss to Hopewell, they have to go to St. Christopher's Thursday night, and then they have to play Maury after that. So Hank Sawyer's team, which got that huge win over Camden of New Jersey, they could go from 1-0 to 1-3 if they're not careful. Possibly, probably 2-2 best case scenario. And Hopewell, I have to admit it, folks. I don't like doing this, but I dropped the ball. I didn't have them ranked to begin the season. I make amends for it. Ricky Irby, you guys, it didn't slip my mind. I just wasn't completely convinced and sold, and that's my fault. We make mistakes. We try not to duplicate them or repeat them. Number 5 on the Hats Hits, from Blue Devils, that's Hopewell, to Red Devils. Don't look now, but Rustburg is off to a 3-0 start for the 2nd straight year under Bert Torrance, a well-respected veteran head coach who guided Northside to a 2013 state title. Tough road remains in the rugged Seminole District. They're a Class 3 sleeper, and they are a Class 3 sleeper, breaking into the top 10. He was the assistant coach to Brad Bradley at Heritage of Lynchburg when they made their state championship push a few years back. Knocked off Phoebus in the title game, lost to Phoebus by a wide margin last year. But Rustburg, team to keep an eye on. Maybe, I wouldn't say championship level, but they could keep someone from fulfilling those championship aspirations that they have this year in a high school football at the Class 3 level. We're going to take a timeout and come back with John Byron. He's the new head football coach of the Tabb Tigers after we hear from a couple of our sponsors, including CHKD Sports Medicine.
At CHKD, sports medicine is more than just treating injuries. It's a whole team approach to caring for young athletes. With experienced physicians, surgeons, trainers, and rehab specialists here when kids and teens need them most. Our experts help young athletes prevent injuries too, with advanced training and conditioning programs that keep them in the game safely. CHKD Sports Medicine, where kids are more than patients and we're more than a hospital.
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that Infernal Revenue Service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
And welcome back to On the Hash with Hatfield here on our podcast with the folks from Hometown Sports Productions and the Plex in Virginia Beach. We are pleased to be joined by a special guest. He is the head football coach in his first season with the Tabb Tigers, but he's a face that is pretty familiar to those that have followed the high school football scene in Tidewater. He was once the head football coach at Menchville High in Newport News, was part of a very successful coaching staff at Lafayette that won a state championship during the COVID year. In fact, he was with Andy Lynn for quite a while, and now in his first year, we're in the orange and black with the white shirt today. We say hello to our pal, Coach John Byron. 2-0 on the season, Coach. Congrats on the start so far. How's life treating you?
Yeah, it's going good so far. It's been a transition over the course of the last 7-8 months since I took the job at Tabb. But we've got a great support staff here. I've got a good coaching staff on with me that helps make my job a little bit easier.
Well, I want to get to the big matchup coming up for your squad in a rivalry game with the York Falcons. The series is 30 wins, 30 losses, 1 tie. So this is the all seriousness, the rubber match in the 50th year anniversary of this. But before we get to that and some of your key contributors, the players that have helped you to this 2-0 start so far with wins over Heritage of Newport News 28-19 and a shutout of Jamestown, a Bay Rivers District foe 28-0. Fill the audience in on a little bit more of your background, your playing days, college days, how you got into coaching, and then what drew you to this job at Tabb, because I know you were enjoying the time as a lieutenant and assistant, if you will, to Andy Lynn there at Lafayette. Things were going well. I think you got a chance to coach your son over there too. What drew you to the job at Tabb?
Yeah, so just start off with a little bit of my background. So I played football at Bridgewater College, and while I was there, I also ended up receiving my teaching degree, decided that I wanted to go into coaching. And I spent my first 5 years at Brookville High School out of Lynchburg, Virginia. And, Brookville High School was a great place for me to start my coaching career. I learned from a lot of the guys that were there that had been coaching for several years. And then after 5 years, I decided that I wanted to take a shot at being a head football coach, and I took the job at Menchville High School. Certainly, young and a little bit probably naive in terms of just how much of a big task that job was, and but I was fortunate to be able to learn a lot through that process. I had a lot of great athletes and great coaches that I got a chance to work with during that time. And then from there, I decided to go to Lafayette High School. And that was Andy Lynn's first year as head coach there, although he had been there several years as an assistant. And we were very successful there over the course of the 12 years that I was there with Andy. I was the defensive coordinator, and Andy was the offensive coordinator. And he did his side of the ball and I did my side of the ball, and we collaborated with coaches. And like you said, we had a lot of success. I was very fortunate to win a state championship in 2020, the COVID year. We went to another state championship in 2014 and just came up a little bit short that year. But I had a lot of success. And like you had mentioned, one of the most gratifying, along with all the other things that was a part of it, Lafayette, is I got to coach not just one of my sons, but 2 of my sons. And my younger son, when we weren't even sure if he was going to have a senior season, ended up winning the state championship in the COVID year. And so that made that much more gratifying. And then I coached another 2 years after the state championship. And I just felt like I was getting to a point where I wanted to try my hand as a head coach again. The Tabb program became available, and Tabb is somebody that I've played against for the last 12 years, and kind of know some background about the program and the Charlie Hovis years leading into Matt Lawson. And there's been a lot of consistency with the coaching staff. I believe I'm the sixth head coach in the history of Tabb High School. And so they've had coaches that have stayed for a long period of time. And that's attributed to, like I said, the great support staff, the community here in the Tabb community. We have a really strong military background, and it's, so it's been an enjoyable transition since I got here. And little by little, we try to get better every week.
Yeah, and we'll get to that military piece as well, because you're doing something neat involving and honoring the military with your game coming up. And I know that Hovis trophy you mentioned about Coach Charlie Hovis, one of the all-time greats, 3 state championships, 1981, 1987, 1990, coached at both York and, of course, led Tabb to some glory, winning the hardware. People remember the great days of Tabb football with Chris Slade, who's now an assistant at UVA, Terry Kirby, who got to play in the NFL like Chris Slade did. They were actually division rivals when Slade was with the New England Patriots and Kirby played for the Miami Dolphins, and the late, great Don Shula. But certainly coming to this program at Tabb, you mentioned about coaching your sons and during the COVID period, how that was crazy and very zany to deal with. But you look at it now with high school football, there's so much that's different, I think, when you started to now. What's the biggest thing you learned, Coach, from your first time as a head coach to now in your second term as a head coach, from Medgefield days to Tabb? Obviously, that stop in between at Lafayette, I'm sure, allowed you to soak up a lot of things. What have you learned that's maybe made you change a little bit of what you do as a head coach?
Yeah, so right now I try to focus each day on what's important. And to me, what's important is the players. And I try to put that at the forefront every day. This is a very difficult job, and anybody that's a head football coach or an assistant football coach, for that matter, knows the number of hours that we put into this thing. And so that can become that can wear you down. It can become frustrating. Sometimes you can get a little bit too caught up in some of the X's and O's. And even though those are important, the biggest thing for me right now is just focusing on the relationships and focusing on player development. And I think that served me well during my time, as I recognize that more and more the longer that I've been coaching, that it's more about that than it is anything else. I think the organization of what needs to happen really comes down a lot of times to the experience that you have, and also the people that you've had the opportunity to work with over the course of your career. That really kind of helps you take care of a lot of the little things that so that the big things will eventually take care of themselves. And so I think I've learned a lot during that time, still learning more and more every day. And there's a lot more that I still need to learn, but definitely much more suited as
Oh, we lost Coach Byron for a second there. He says a lot more suited as a head coach. We'll get him back here hopefully in just a second here as we speak to you on our edition of the podcast weekly here on The Hash with Hatfield. I'm not sure if something just cut off there in terms of the internet connectivity or access, but we'll hopefully have Coach back with us here in a moment as you see some of the things scrolling across our ticker here, including our recent Chicho's Pizza Player of the Week and the Tabb Tigers football schedule. So hopefully we'll get Coach Byron recalibrated with us here on The Hash with Hatfield as we preview their big matchup coming up on Friday. It's the rivalry showdown with the York Falcons, and he's got a lot of players that have contributed to this 2-0 start for his team thus far on the season. So hopefully we'll have Coach Byron back with us, and we will get a chance to catch up with him as we discuss all that is happening with his football program over there at Tabb High School, as they are off to a 2-0 start, beating Heritage 28-19, and also Jamestown 28-0. Got that first win over the Jamestown. Check that, the Heritage Hurricanes 28-19, with Cam Dixon running for 158 yards and 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns as they rallied past the Hurricanes in that one. Got a good effort. Did Heritage throwing the football from Derek Gurley, but the offensive line I know has been key for them with 4 starters back from a season ago, and his defense really stepping up in a big way in their latest performance as they shut out Jamestown 28-0. So hopefully we'll get Coach Byron back up here in just a second, and we can have him rejoin us to discuss his squad and what all is taking place with them here on our edition of On the Hash with Hatfield. As always, you can reach out to us on our Twitter feed at 757 Sports Talk. There we go. I think we've got Coach back with us as we have sometimes technical difficulties happen when you're doing this live and you're doing it from remote locations. But we appreciate you, Coach. And let's get back to what you were finished up there, Sam, before you got cut off there just a little bit, as we'll dive into your key guys that have performed thus far and also the matchup on deck. But just kind of elaborate, if you can, on what you were saying there before we lost you.
Yeah, so I was just commenting on, all the things that I've been able to learn over the course of my time as an assistant, a head coach, and my first run as head coach at Menchfield till now. And more or less just saying that, there's a lot of things that come with experience. And the experience that I've been able to pick up on over the course of my 24 years of coaching has now just allowed me to be a better football coach and be more organized, and certainly the way I delegate and also the player development and the relationships that I try to keep at the forefront of what we're doing. And so I think that's served me well. And like I said, I also got a lot that I still need to learn, and we learn every day. And so I try to get better at what I do every day.
That's awesome. And one of the players that I was talking about for you that really helped you out to this 2-0 start was Cam Dixon, 158 yards rushing, 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns he had in that comeback win against Heritage. And I know you brought back a large chunk of the offensive line from a season ago. So highlight those guys, if you can, and others that have stepped up for you as you're off to a 2-0 start, trying to make it 3-0. The Tigers haven't started off this well since beginning 5-0 in 2008.
Yeah, so, I would start off with our guys in the trenches first, although Dixon has done a fantastic job for us. Really the battles are won up front, as anybody in football knows. And we were fortunate to have some guys back from last year, but sort of highlighting that offensive line is 2 young men that really give us something up front in terms of being able to set the tone in the trenches. And that's Diego Marine, who's a senior. He's about 6'2", 290, a big weight room guy. Bench presses about 365, squats over 500 pounds. I mean, he is a guy that has just really gotten after it in the weight room over the course of his high school career. And then Jordan Griffin, who is 6'3", 280 pounds, and he plays guard for us. And he's a junior, and so we'll get him back another year. But Jordan has done an outstanding job for us as well. We had returning also. We had Cam Paragoy, who has kind of been a utility player for us. We've kind of moved him around a little bit. He's played some guard. He's played some tackle for us, but he also starts for us at inside linebacker. And then we've also got a young man that's starting for us at center right now named Chandler Geigley. And he's doing a great job for us at center. Dwayne Fair is a two-way starter. He plays tight end for us. He's about 6'1", 190, and he continues to give us great looks from the tight end position and also on the other side of the ball and outside linebacker. Now getting into Cam Dixon, Cam Dixon is a throwback type player. He's just a kid that loves contact and is a smart, tough player for us, and he is one of our captains and is a big part of our success so far. He played outside linebacker and tight end last year, and we moved him to inside linebacker and fullback this year. And like you said, he's had 3 touchdowns in a game and a half because we got cut short in the Jamestown game due to weather. And during that time, he's rushed for over 200 yards and also been a threat out of the backfield for us too. But Cam is a leader for us on both sides of the ball, and he's somebody that we certainly count on in terms of our success on both sides of the football.
That is great to hear. And he's looking at this matchup with York coming up. It is one of these states, I guess you could say, best rivalries in terms of just the passion, competitiveness, and the turnout for these matchups over the years one team, York can be 5-0, Tabb can be 0-5, or vice versa. So Tabb can be 5-0, York can be 0-5, and a game still a 17-16 slobber knocker, as you know from watching it over the years. And I know you got a lot of respect for Doug Pereira and the Falcons over there. Give me a thought on this matchup and what it means. I know you're doing a military appreciation night. I know honoring the military during the game, and it's always a game that people look forward to and circle on the calendar, whether they're a Tabb alum, a York grad, or just even a fan of Bay Rivers and high school football in general.
Sure. So let me start with the military appreciation first. This is something that we really wanted to do, both me and Coach Pereira over at York, to honor our military. The festivities are going to start at 6:30 at Bailey, about 30 minutes prior to the game. We're going to have the ground zero flag, the flag that actually flew at ground zero, and then was also taken over to Iraq when they caught Saddam Hussein. And a picture of that particular flag is at the site where that happened. And so we will be presenting that flag at the beginning of our ceremony, with actually Cam Dixon, who will be bringing that flag out. And then we've got 5 players from each of our teams that are going to bring out each branch of the military's flag one by one, for every branch of the military. And then we're going to follow that up with our color guard, follow that up with our band and the national anthem. And it's just going to be a great opportunity to really just let our men and women in uniform know how much we appreciate all they do. And I think it holds special meaning coming 4 days after September 11th, and just an opportunity to honor those people that continue to fight that war on terrorism, and also to our first responders as well, who who put their lives on the line each. Forget to remember that the freedoms that we have and the protection that we have comes at a cost, and it's not free. And so it's just an opportunity for us to share that with our community, and especially our young people that'll be in attendance for that game.
That's so awesome, Coach. I mean, in this world where you have so many negative headlines at times and you hear about the bad things more than the good things, it's very commendable and honorable what you all are doing to honor our country here. After that, just obviously we're on the 22-year anniversary of 9/11 that took place, and 4 days after that date of 9/11. The last thing to get you out, just the thought on the matchup with York, because obviously getting to 3-0 would be a big deal for you all as you all start to think about, I know it's still early, it's September, but you always want to get those power points and get wins that'll help your positioning to try to get in the postseason, you all competing in Class 3 Region A.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, and to go back to what you were saying earlier about Doug and the program that he's had over at York, he's done a great job over the years. Doug is one of the longstanding coaches in the BRD, and consistency at the head coach position is key. And he's done a great job from a discipline and accountability, and he has a system on offense and defense, and it is not a game that we take lightly at all. Of course, we have every reason to go in here and to give everything we have in order to compete at a high level, to have an opportunity to beat these guys. But in terms of the way that we're approaching it, it is the next game up. It obviously has additional meaning because of who it is and the rivalry and how many years this has been going on for. But our goal is to be 1-0 every week, and so our focus is getting better, taking care of the little things, and then hopefully those big things like the wins take care of themselves.
Well, off to a very fine start in year one at the helm of the Tabb Tigers. John Byron, so kind of join us. Going out there and support the Military Appreciation Night and just one of the best rivalries we have in the Commonwealth and certainly here in the 757 area code as the Tabb Tigers take on the York Falcons. Thank you so much for the time today. All the best to you on Friday night, and we'll be keeping in touch for sure.
Absolutely, Matt. Thanks so much for having me on, and go Tigers.
There you go. Go Tigers. Let's support the orange and black as Tabb takes on York coming up on Friday night. It is On the Hash with Hatfield. We'll come back with some more, including some more sound from a victorious head football coach and take you around the 757 area code. It is On the Hash with Hatfield. Subscribe, like, and share to our Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel.
Man, I wish I was out there.
Let's unretire.
Why not? Randy Moss.
Dan Marino? You alright?
Hey, Grandpa!
Grandpa?
I still got it.
22. 22.
Career game number 13.
Let's see.
Hey. I need that senior discount.
That's the game. Mr. Marino, you mind if I take a selfie? Thank you.
I'm good right here, bro.
Unretirement? Who'd be dumb enough to do that?
Okay, who here has reached peak fall?
Peak what?
Peak fall!
I am wearing plaid.
And I'm wearing a cardigan.
I guess I am eating snickerdoodle cookie dough.
And I am eating a pumpkin pie blizzard.
The new DQ Fall Blizzard menu has reached peak fall. Pumpkin pie, snickerdoodle cookie dough, and more. They are back!
I just love fall. Apparently we all do.
Oh, they did it! Peak fall achieved! DQ, happy tastes good.
I'm unmuted now. We welcome you back to On the Hash with Hatfield. That's what happens at the wrong button. And you start talking and you're still muted. We thank John Byron, head football coach of the Tabb Tigers, for stopping by to chat with us. If you missed any of the show, make sure you check it back later on our YouTube channel, also being streamed on Facebook. We'll have it up on virginiapreps.com as well here with On the Hash with Hatfield. We're going to take a quick not a break, but we're going to hear from another coach here in just a second as we now check in on the head football coach of the Manor Mustangs, who got themselves their first win under his direction, Tony Newbold. Here's what he told us. All right, I'm here with Manor head football coach Tony Newbold. His Mustangs win at 37-6 in a Monday night edition of football against the Lakeland Cavaliers, a game that was suspended from Friday and then Saturday to Monday because of weather. How's it feel to get it when you have to start, stop? It's like you're seeing green lights, red lights, yellow lights on the road, but your first win as a head football coach technically here. So
Yes,
congratulations.
Thank you. I spoke to you early in the season. I said about keeping these guys focused. It was a great job of keeping them focused for over 3 days and coming back and still executing the game plan we put in through the week. So I'm proud of my guys. It feels good to get that first monkey off my back. Yeah, hopefully there's plenty more to go.
Sure. Coming off a couple of losses, I know you're trying to, instill, winning culture and change some things over after those defeats that you had against Hickory and War Hill. What's been the biggest point of emphasis to get things turned around for you here at Manor?
These guys believe in themselves. We got a thing of believe in us. So that's what we're going to continue to do, believe in us.
Kendrick Sewell, your junior quarterback, really electric when he gets out in open space on the edges. I mean, he does some things at the QB spot that just has some gifted abilities not a lot of kids do.
Yes, sir. That kid's a talent, man. I wish I had him for a lifetime, but he's the me on the field. Like we go at it all day long, but I enjoy him because he makes me better.
And I know from Maury Stevenson's a player that you highlighted to us back in the summer as one that really helps make you go in the trenches. And your defense almost had a shutout tonight. Really played well for much of the contest.
Yes, sir. We got a bunch of young guys that haven't been to varsity before, so they learn the speed of the game, and they're getting better day by day. That's all we look for.
How important is it to throw out there some freshmen and sophomores? I know you mentioned to me the ninth grader Carly Phillips, who you like, and I know some others that are in that ninth grade, 10th grade class to get their feet wet, because it's only going to get more challenging in the Eastern District when you see the Maurys, the Lake Taylors, the Norcoms, the Churchlands that come later in the schedule.
Oh, Carly did a great job today of doing this job. I brought another freshman up from JV, Devontae Crosby, and he scored the last touchdown for us. So, I'm happy for my young guys. I got a good future.
Couple more let you run here. Knowing that the Eastern District has certainly been making some noise the last few years in football. We've seen state championships from Lake Taylor and Maury. How much does that competition get the kids amped up for? I know this is an out-of-district game here, and your first few have been with Hickory and War Hill and Lakeland tonight, but do they get juiced up for some of those battles, especially the Portsmouth rivalry games with the Norcoms and the Churchlands, if you will?
I tell you what, I think they moved that game from Friday to Saturday because those guys are too excited. So I think that's a good thing the district is doing. Maybe we get more people out here. Backyard brawls are the best things going. So I'm excited for the kids, and I'm excited for the team.
You've been a Woodrow Wilson, then Manor guy as the school's gone through some name changes, logo changes, a lot of different things. And I think there's an excitement you've experienced on the basketball side, helping them win a share of a state championship during the COVID year.
Yes,
and in football, what do you want the fans that come out and watch Manor Mustangs football to sense in terms of the identity and the brand of football you all want to play?
They just know that we're going to be aggressive. We see we don't give up, and we're just going to keep the same energy all game long.
First win for Coach Newbold and the Mustangs, but hopefully not the last. Thank you so much. All the best, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Good job, buddy. So that was Tony Newbold, the head football coach of the Manor Mustangs. Once was coaching basketball over there and doing a fine job. Kendrick Soel can really scoot when he gets to the edges, a junior QB, and I know they got a freshman running back they're very high on, as we touched on. So future could be bright. I don't see them being a playoff threat by any means this year, and Lakeland's going through some struggles. Both of these programs have been sort of downtrodden, but I like what Tony Newbold is doing there as he, gets some experience, assembles more people on his staff, and they start to grow and build. I think they can do some good things in years to come, and I think they'll maybe cause a couple teams some problems in the Eastern District before it's all said and done, even if they don't make a playoff push, if you will. So there you have it. Our 757 Chicho's Football Player of the Week was recently announced on our social pages, and if you haven't seen it, well, here it is, folks. Kendrick Overton, the dual threat quarterback from the Nansemond River Warriors, who started his high school career with Lakeland, Suffolk rival. What a performance he had. Did Kendrick Overton, the Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week, 21 of 36 through the air for 318 yards, 4 touchdowns. He also toted the rock 13 times for $110 and 2 touchdowns. So do the math, what he did against Deep Creek, in which was a convincing Warriors win. He totaled 428 yards of offense, and he accounted for 6 touchdowns, 3 of which went through the air to Manny Izagu, the James Madison commit. How about that Duke's comeback win against UVA last week? I know the Cavaliers fans weren't liking that, but JMU Nation is rocking out, including my father, class of 77 JMU grad. But 53-14, Nansemond River over the Purple Thunder of Deep Creek. Big showdown for Nansemond River as they now take on Oscar Smith, as we highlight some games to watch out for this week. Game's going to come down to, for Oscar Smith, they had so many yards in penalties in their loss to Phoebus, and they have 2 decisive wins, more so the Great Bridge win than the Hermitage win. But how healthy are they? We know they've been without running back, receiver, skill player Jamari Bam Knox, but they do have some guys at the skill position, some underclassmen that have a lot of talent and speed. Jamari Deloach, Jaden Dabbs, Trey Jones. They have players that can do some big things with the ball in space, and their defense is still pretty rock solid. They did hold Phoebus under 150 yards of offense in that loss, and they will try to contain Overton and Azangu, 2 major weapons. It's hard to believe that Oscar Smith might not have the 2 most dynamic weapons on the field, but, and I say this, but they have not lost to Nansemond River since 2002, and if Brandon Nesbitt is anywhere close to healthy, I know he was dinged up the last time I saw them play against Phoebus a couple weeks ago. The Deep Creek transfer running the ball for the Tigers, I think that could make a major difference. Special teams could be a factor in that one too. I think that's going to be in the low 20s, high teens. That's going to be, I think, a tight, good ball game. Certainly a game of the week candidate. Also a game of the week candidate. We touched on the Maury Commodores earlier. They're going to Dinwiddie to take on the Generals. I've got this scored something like 42-26 in favor of Maury. Nothing against my Dinwiddie friends and Coach Billy Mills. They do a wonderful job there. They got the horse, the cannon, the buggy, the whole bit. They shoot the cannon off. It's a great atmosphere for a football game. Harry Dalton at quarterback is superb. I want to see which defense stands up and makes the big stand in this game, gets the huge takeaway, the spark play, the splash play, the sack, the PBU, the tackle for loss, because these are two offenses that when they're humming, with Newkirk directing the Maury attack now and Dalton for Dinwiddie, both can go up tempo. They can get some exciting big plays. This could be a track meet, folks, and first to 40 wins it. It might even get played in the 50s. It could evoke visions of the Dinwiddie King George playoff game a year ago, and it could be a back and forth seesaw affair. Maybe a little more depth at the receiver position for Maury than Dinwiddie. Watch out for Savon McDowell, Coastal Carolina committed linebacker. If you watched our football preview show back in late August, we talked to him and Harry Dalton. But I like the Commodores to get it done in this one. I think they have the ability to run the ball in big spots, which they have now shown in recent big games under Coach Jerry McCain and company. And I'm not selling that defense short, led by Ari Watford, the talented junior, and Fred Johnson, JR, as they call him, the South Carolina Gamecocks commit. Another game to watch out for, this one on Thursday night. We highlighted the York Tabb rivalry game in the BRD, the Bay Rivers District. Certainly Lafayette lost to St. Christopher's in a game they could have won. 4 fumbles inside the red zone, 5 turnovers. Now we'll see if another team from Class 3 on the public school side of things, the Lake Taylor Hank Sawyer's Titans, can get it done against St. Christopher's, which has some big-time talent. Maybe not great depth, but in order to the Titans, going to need a huge performance with the Titans from Elijah Moss Washington at wide receiver. They have to run the ball and control the clock in this one and not turn it over. Keep the St. Chris offense off the field. I think this might be more of a try to slow the game down if you're Hank Sawyer, who I understand could be without the services of his standout quarterback, Jameer Sporty Freeman. If Freeman is a no-go, it's going to change things up dramatically for the Titans. St. Christopher's is going to pose a big threat here in this game for Lake Taylor, which can get it done on the line of scrimmage behind Keontae Arrington and Roy Norfleet leading the line play on the offensive and defensive side of things. Couple games in the beach of note for Thursday night. Salem at Tallwood. Tallwood coming off a big overtime win. John Keppel's Lions getting it done, beating Lansdowne last week. Curious to see if they can follow this up with another win. They lost that first game of the year to Bayside, but they've got the ability to run the ball with their quarterbacks, even Jacob Rojas, see what they can do with the receiver positions, and if the defense can be on point to get a pass rush on Jason Scooter Williams for Salem. They've already gotten a pretty big year so far from Fabian Wells at wide, so how Tallwood covers him will be crucial in that matchup. First Colonial at 2-0, at Green Run 3-0. We had on Lamort Smith. I like what he's doing with FC. Got great energy, enthusiasm, but Green Run's a different machine right now, folks. Kassan Farrar, he's probably going to get himself a Chicho's Pizza Player of the Week pretty soon. I can see it in his future because he is that type of quarterback. He's got the receiving core with Jaden Anderson, Keelan Brody-Adams, the Virginia Tech commit, Tayshawn Young, Steve Qualley-Price, and others. So it's going to be hard to keep them out of the end zone in this game. And FC has gotten a good year thus far from Raquim Hobbs, the running back who's a junior, but this looks like all Green Run. Another game that might be a little bit more like the Salem Tallwood and could turn out to be close or a toss-up is Lansdowne at Bayside. Marlins coming off a game that they probably feel they should have won and gave away against Cox. Cox was able to drive about 75, 85 yards in the last 2 minutes after a Bayside turnover. They were trying to run the clock out, and they fumbled it, leading at 9-7 after rallying. We'll see how the Marlins respond from that as they try to get to 3-1 against Robert Jackson, who once coached John White at Bayside, the Marlins head coach. Jackson trying to get the pupil again here, the pupil trying to get the better at a teacher. And Lansdowne's been snake bitten in some close games themselves. They have to be saying we should easily beat 3-0 instead of 1-2 because they lost overtime thrillers to both Ocean Lakes and Tallwood in tight games where they had a lead in that Ocean Lakes game for much of the way in that opener, sandwiched in between a comeback down at the half, a win over Princess Anne. Isaiah Lovegren running the ball, Zay Cleveland catching the football. This one could be a tight one to the very end, and wouldn't be surprised if Lansdowne got the win, but Bayside trying to get some wins here before they play Kempsville and Green Run in the middle part of their schedule. Other games to note, we've hit on a bunch of them so far. I'll give you one more game because we should probably be out of time here. We've gone almost a full hour here. Atlantic Shores at the Virginia Beach Sportsplex. You see it in the background for me. I'll be on the call for it as the Seahawks a perfect 3-0 on the year under Wayne Lance. Got his son Micah slinging it around, doing great things. We had him on the show last week, taking on North Cross, who is 2-1, and they have a guy named Moritz Schmorenzer, 6'4", 285-pound lineman committed to Pittsburgh. Watch the trenches battle, how the Seahawks can try to get in the backfield and disrupt this North Cross offense. That is one to keep an eye out for on the private school side of things. You also have Norcom at Highland Springs. I wanted to highlight that, see if the Greyhounds can have better success against a top-tier opponent. They lost a couple weeks ago to C.H. Flowers, did respond with the winner over Norview, and Hopewell traveling to take on the Churchland Truckers. We'll see if the Truckers can get it done after Lake Taylor lost to them last week. This is a big test for Dontrell Leonard's team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to try to slow down that very potent Hopewell offensive backfield. But they got them in their own backyard there in Portsmouth, as that'll be one to check out. So there you have it. Those are the matchups. Let us know what you think. Drop any predictions you have, bold predictions, any questions you got for our mailbag. As always, hatfieldsports@gmail.com. And that's going to do it for this edition of On the Hash with Hatfield. We thank you for tuning in. We'll do it again next week. We'll have another Chicho's Pizza Player of the Week. And we thank all the sponsors for making this possible for all of you out there. And in fact, you will hear before we sign off from a couple of those sponsors, such as Dairy Queen, Chicho's, and Freddy's. So let's give them a listen before we bid adieu here on this Thursday with On the Hash with Hatfield from the Plex.
Okay, who here has reached peak fall?
Peak what?
Peak fall.
I am wearing plaid.
And I'm wearing a cardigan.
I guess I am eating snickerdoodle cookie dough.
And I am eating a pumpkin pie blizzard.
The new DQ Fall Blizzard menu has reached peak fall. Pumpkin pie, snickerdoodle cookie dough, and more. They are back.
I just love fall.
Apparently we all do.
Oh, they did it. Peak fall achieved. DQ, happy tastes good.